So this is section 3.1. The first couple of problems are going to be asking you for the mean, the median, and the mode. So mean is the same thing as average, and if you were just going to calculate it by hand, you would add all the numbers up and divide by how many numbers there are, in this case 6. So you'd add all these, divide by 6. That would give you your mean. The median is the number that's in the middle, and that would require you lining them up from lowest to highest and finding the middle. But in this case, there's 6 numbers, so there's no single middle, and it's this whole process to do it. So I'm going to show you the calculator way to do it, and that will just give you the mean and the median, and then you don't need to know the details about how you would calculate it by hand. The mode is actually the easiest one here. It's just the number that shows up the most frequently. So in this list, the only number that shows up more than once is 21. So that's the mode. And that's going to be the part 3 question. But to get the mean and the median, because these are going to come up a lot, and there's a lot of times where it's much easier to do it with the calculator versus the doing it by hand. Even though this wouldn't be that bad to add all these up and divide by 6, we're going to do it using the calculator shortcuts and start to get you used to using those. So for both the mean and the median, you're going to go through this same process, and it's going to give you both of those. So the first thing that you're going to hit is your stat button, and I want you to notice a couple of things here. This here is going to show what should show up on the screen of your actual calculator, and then down here is a list of which buttons I've pushed to get there. So if you're going back and you want to take notes or something, the buttons I push to get there will all show up down here. So you're going to start with stat, and then you want to go to edit, and since it's already highlighted, the way to get into edit is to now hit the enter key, and that gets you this screen here with L1, L2, and yours, depending on which exact calculator you have, may show more or fewer lists. But if your calculator's never been used before, all of these are going to be blank, but since you'll be using them, now you also need to know how to clear them to go back after you've put numbers in them. And if somebody has used your calculator before, then you might have numbers in here as well. So to clear out any lists that already have numbers in them, what you want to do is hit the up arrow so that L1 or L2 or whichever list it is that you're looking for, so that that is highlighted, and then you hit the clear button, and then you hit the enter button, and it deletes everything from there. And if you're not in the list you want to be, then again you're going to use the arrow buttons. That part's pretty intuitive. So arrow over to any list that you want to clear, then arrow up to the heading, hit the clear button, and then hit enter. And now you've got empty lists that are ready to put your numbers into. So then you just use the number keys to enter the numbers. So 21, and then after each number you hit enter, and it pops it up into the list there. And then 98, 83, 80, 21, 67. Okay, now that you have all the numbers in the list here, now you need to have it calculate something. And to do that, you go back again to the stat button, but now we're going to arrow over to calc. And under calc, there's all these different kinds of calculations it can do, but the one that we want it to do is this first one that's already highlighted, one var stats. So since it's already highlighted, we hit enter. And list it says L1, and that's probably where you put your numbers. So just make sure that the list that you put your numbers in matches what that list says there. If you ever need to change it, see how this says L1 and it's in blue and L2 in blue? If you ever need to change it, then you would hit the second because it corresponds to the color that it's listed on there, and say I wanted to change it to L2, I would do second 2, and now it says L2 instead of L1. But in this case, I want L1, so I'm going to change it back to L1. No, that's not good. Clear? Okay. Did not realize that. It's got, you can put more than one in there at a time. We want just L1. Okay. Frequency list is usually going to be blank. In this case, it's blank. If there's ever anything that needs to go in there, then I will make that clear. So then you're going to arrow down to calculate. And once calculate is highlighted, you hit enter to make it calculate. And then you've got all these numbers and symbols that might mean nothing to you right now. So the only one that's on the screen right now that you need to know is the X with a line over it. And that is the mean, which is also the average. It means the same thing. Sometimes I'm going to refer to this as X bar. So if I refer to the X with the line over it, or X bar, or the mean, or the average, those are all the same thing. And so this is a number that you want to enter for part 1, where it asks you to find the mean, and it wants you to round your answer to 1 decimal place. So 61.6667 would round to 61.7. That's what it means by 1 decimal place. So you would enter 61.7 for part 1 of this problem. This is just a screenshot of the problem, so I can't scroll down to the rest of it, but I know that part 2 is finding the median. And this same output gives you, in addition to giving you the mean right here, it also gives you the median. This arrow right here indicates that there's more stuff below this that you can scroll to. So you're going to use this arrow to go down, and on the real physical calculator, I think you're going to have to go down a few times, like 2 or 3 times to get to it. But what you're looking for here is this MED, and that stands for median, and it's 73.5. It already goes out to 1 decimal place, so you don't need to round anything, so you'll just enter 73.5. And then the last one is the mode, which I already mentioned is the number that shows up the most frequently in the list. In this case, the only number that shows up more than once is 21, so that's your mode. It'll be a radio dial thing where you pick either there is no mode or there is at least 1 mode. In this case, you'd pick at least 1 mode and then just type 21 into the box for the answer. So that's how you're going to do most of the problems in section 3.1. The only other thing that's a little bit different that happens to show up for this one in question 2 is you've got a negative number in your list. So to do that when you're entering it, you have to use this negative sign with the parentheses around it before the 9. Do not enter the minus sign. This one you use for subtraction. This is the one that you always use for a negative number. And so just to review clearing and putting a new list in here, I'm going to go back. You can stop this now if you're comfortable with that. But if you want to see again how to clear the list and how to put a set of numbers in here, it's going to be stat, and then edit is already highlighted, and that's what you want. So you hit enter. You already have numbers in here and you want to clear them first. So arrow up to L1, hit the clear button, and hit enter. And it doesn't actually clear it until you hit the enter button. and then enter the numbers on the keypad, followed by enter, and then 6, and another 6, and 22. And then for the -9, it's the negative sign down here, and then the 9, and enter. And then again, to get to the mean and median, it's going to be stat again, arrow over to calc, enter, and arrow down to calculate, enter. Your mean is the X with the line over it. And your median, you have to scroll down a little for, in this case is 6. And then the mode is the number that shows up the most frequently, and that happens to also be 6 for this one.